So what's going on? This video gonna be about Enis Kanter. You remember Enis Kanter Freedom? You know, the big who used to play for the Celtics, and he always had something to say about LeBron James. And he pretty much is kind of like the Colin Kaepernick, Madu Raul of the NBA. You always notice that when the NBA runs people out the league, they usually aren't of certain complexion. It's always something that they do. Kanter was very opinionated about LeBron James and the shoes, and he said about, which I've said about Michael Jordan and Phil Knight and the whole shoes and the sweatshops. I spoke about that long. They've been people been spoke out about it because no one ever. People want to be entertained and want to have everything a certain way, but they don't ever want to talk about nothing that's right there in fundamental. And then Daryl Motley, I remember Daryl Morey, who's the GM of the Sixers, Mr. Analytics, etc., spoke about China, etc. But he retracted, but he got him another job. They ran Enis Kanter. And Enis Kanter Freedom got ran out the league. Now, some people make a joke and say, well, he couldn't play defense. You know, they always got a cheap shot excuse to when a cat gets ran out the league. But no one really plays defense like that. No way, because guys who usually are great defenders usually don't average more than 15 plus points. Usually. Just saying. That's not something that you give up something for hand in hand. Most of the times the cast and respected in the modern era of defenders were not high scores. When you talk about defensive players of the year, Dwight Howard was kind of in that rare, but he wasn't a super scorer. When you talk about him, Ben Wallace, and you talk about Rudy Gobert and Draymond Green, if you want to go that route. So that's just a cheap cop-out. But Enis Kanter Freedom was actually speaking some hardcore facts. You don't have a voice in that NBA. You never really did. And if you said anything, they would run you up and cover you up, you know. And Kanter Freedom was one of the few to actually call LeBron James out over his hypocrisy. You know, the so-called king, so-called deep thinker who always said LeBron James's deep thoughts about the same equivalent as Jerry Springer. I remember a tweet when he was actually getting into with Daryl Morey trying to say you weren't educated on something. You a high school direct NBA cat. You're not into the legislation, legalities, and all that. What are you privy to speak out so much on? What is your philosophical politics on? Enis Kanter Freedom was right about LeBron James. You know. But because you told a line in your company, man, people like that more. That's why LeBron got a pass. That's why he continues to pretty much get a pass, except to his once the whole thing with Bronny James. And Enis Kanter Freedom was also one that says that Bronny was a nice guy, but he had no business playing the NBA. He said that in the summertime. Think about it. But they don't want you to ever question what they putting down. They just want you to take it and look the other way. And so LeBron obviously got a pass. But if you read about the Enis Kanter Freedom situation with the NBA, it was bipartisan. I think my whole logistics of this video talking about Enis Kanter Freedom is this. It went to the Senate and the government. It was bipartisan. So when I hear these people who are on their anti-Biden rally or the anti-Trump rally, what have you, it's all the same. See, what you don't get is the same thing that happened to Colin Kaepernick happened to Enis Kanter Freedom. It makes no difference which party you align with or who you align with. They all gonna come down together against you for having individual choice and take. See, the lesson is this. All these people who thinking that Trump is going to be the sugar daddy that's going to spray the salt and rid you of what Joe Biden put down is the Lulu. It's no different, and I'm not comparing Enis Kanter Freedom with Dr. King or Malcolm X, so let's not go there. My point is this, though. If you speak out and you stand out for something and you're a threat to the powers that be, both sides ain't got no use for you. And they make that loud and clear. For all that talking and shouting, all that acting they do on TV together, they one and the same. You don't understand until you really understand the jargon of how it goes down. But ask yourself, Yeah, Trump was responsible for Kaepernick saying it loud and clear. And they did. And they bonded. And by the way, they promote a more liberal agenda in the so-called NFL, or what they market, as conservative. So you can't tell me that they're not both sides that are not tied together. That's the moral of the story. When people get on this high horse about how Trump's gonna come along, white horse, and save the day, or that Biden was the bad guy and all that, they both the bad guy. They both ain't got no use for you if you don't play the game. They do as they do and want as they want. Privilege, complexion goes a long way. You just got to understand it. And Daryl Morey did get reminded of your privilege. He did get a reminder of it. That's why he got his behind the Philly, Mr. Analytics, and James Harden. He didn't milk that career with James Harden, that beard, and he sits there tanking wherever he goes. He spoke out one time. He ain't gonna say nothing else because they told him, remember your complexion. And that's where I'm looking at this. But see, this is the thing. The Enis Kanter Freedom comments showed you about how bipartisan works against you. They play a game of that they are kumbaya to sell one thing, but it's really two heads of the same coin flip. You're going to find out one way or the other. Some people find out too late, and then they don't understand the ramifications of how they really get down. And it is really real. So it's something to take that in consideration. But when you go back and you look at the totality of what he was going at about, how he went at LeBron James, the political divide, they are all in cahoots with one another. It's a business. And it's a dirty business. And like Enis Kanter Freedom said, dirty money, but that's what people want. They will look the other way because it's all green at the end of the day. They got no use for you, and you can best assure that that's what they think and how they feel about you. So that's what's up. And it was looking at it, thinking about it, because it was brought to my attention. I was watching a video about NBA players who got white ball, which I call white ball, black ball, white ball, and you predominantly see the most of them. But Enis Kanter Freedom situation, he had become a citizen of the States. He was wanted back in Turkey. He spoke out on a lot. And the thing is, you're supposed to. It's freedom of speech. People who don't like it shouldn't have been born, shouldn't have had a tongue in a mouth to talk with, because something's wrong if you can't speak, especially when you can put in an intellectualized, intelligent manner and demeanor. It's an insult to you if you can't speak your justice and your peace. But the truth of the matter is, he shouldn't have never been ran out the league. Not for that. You clown him for being but journeyman players are a dime a dozen. So what's your real criteria? You know. Besides, if Josh Giddey can play, Enis Kanter Freedom should be allowed to play for any team he chooses to. And I'm gonna stick on code on that one. And if Daryl Morey gets to be a GM, I got a chance to be a GM, everybody should have a chance. But there's some reminders of how the politics, because it's all corporate and they work for both sides. Understand that. There's no one side, it's bipartisan. So when you look at these situations, well, you could go quick to saying, well, they're liberal, they're conservative. No, they're in the same umbrella. They just go in the direction where the wind goes, where the rain drops, to keep their heads covered. But it's all the same game. Please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another. Share it if you like and hit that membership. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay true, stay free. And they both on the same side. I'm out.